In an earlier demonstration we looked at creating a manual software update group. Now that works, but unfortunately it requires a lot of administration, so it would be so much better if we could get Config Manager to manage that for us. And we can do that by creating automatic deployment rules. And automatic deployment rules allow me to automate selecting specific software update based on criteria. It also allows me to automatically create a software update group that contains a list of updates that we specified as part of the search. It also automatically downloads the update content to a deployment package. It distributes the deployment package and then it deploys that software update to clients, which reduces our admin overhead. So in this demonstration we're going to look at creating automatic update rules. I'm in my Config Manager console, and one of the things we're going to do in my Config Manager console is we're going to come in and we're going to go to our software library. And within our software library, what we're going to do is we're going to create an automatic deployment rule. So I've come into software library, I've got the software updates and automatic deployment rules. Now I'm in here, we'll right click and we'll create an automatic deployment rule. This is going to take me into Wizard, so as with everything within the Wizard, we have to give this a name in the case of our automatic deployment rule, and we have to fill out some additional information as well. So what I've done in the Wizard is I've given the name required critical updates for Windows 10. I'm using a template called Patch Tuesday. I've specified the target collection for the software update deployment to be all Windows 10 workstation. And what I've decided to do at this point here is I've decided to add to an existing software update group every time the rule runs to find new updates. But as we can see here, I could create a new software update group. Both ways work, no problem at all. And then what we have down here as well is we just have enable the deployment after this rule is run. So we're happy with everything we've got on the general page, so we'll select next. Then what we've got is our deployment settings. I'm not using wait on LAN. I'm happy with only success or error messages to be logged, and what we'll do is we'll automatically deploy all software updates found by this rule and approve any license agreements as well. So again, we're happy with all of that. We'll select next. Next thing we have to do is just specify our criteria. So what we're going to do at this point here is we're just going to modify some of these settings. What we've done at this point here is I've just selected, based off my criteria for my software updates, I've selected product, required, and update classification. So if we come down to product, we'll just select items to find. And what we'll do is we'll go for Windows 10. So we'll scroll this down. Get down towards the W's and select Windows 10. I'll select OK. Then in the case of required, what we'll do at this point here is we'll just specify greater than or equal to 1, and we'll add that in. And we'll select OK again. And then in the case of our update classification, I'm going to change it from security updates. I'm just going to change that to critical updates. And we'll select OK, so we're only interested in critical updates at this point here. Now that we've done that, if we select the preview button will at this point here show me any information relating to those updates. So just select close. Let's just go for critical update, and we'll also turn on as well security updates and select OK, and then we'll click preview again, and as we can see it's now found some updates, so that proves that the search criteria does work. So at this point here we'll just select close. So we're happy with all of that, and then we'll select our next button. With our evaluation schedule at this point here, what we're going to do is we'll run the rule on the schedule, and what we're going to do at this point here is not happy with 30 days. Let's just change that, and let's change that to 2 days. So we'll run the evaluation every 2 days. And we'll just select OK, and we'll just select next. On my deployment schedule, I'm happy with client local time. In the case of my deployment for software updates, we'll make that as soon as possible. And then what we'll do for our installation deadline is we'll give that 7 days. And then what we'll do is we'll select next. Just with our user experience, I'm happy to display this in Software Center and show all notifications. I'm not going to bother modifying any of the other settings. We covered them in a previous demo, so we'll select next. I will, however, ensure that we do generate an alert at this point here. So we're happy that we will generate an alert when following conditions are met. So in the case of anything failing, we'll generate an alert, and generate an alert if client compliance is below 90%, and we'll specify the offline deadline of 7 days. We're not using Ops Manager, so we don't need to worry about the Ops Manager settings. So at this point here, we'll now select next. That's going to ask us to now create our deployment package. So what I'm going to do at this point here is I'm going to create a new deployment package. Need to give it a name and fill out some of the other information. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a name of auto deploy, and I'm going to specify the package source as //lon-cfg $e source auto update, and then we're not bothered about sending priority, we'll just leave that as medium. Again, I'm not looking for any differences. I'm not going to turn on the radio button of no deployment package, I need to create one. So this point here we'll just select next. We need to add a distribution point, so we'll add distribution point, and we'll specify lon-cfg, select OK, select next. Then we just need to specify our download location, so we're not getting the updates from the internet, we're getting them from the server, so we'll just specify the path. And then we'll just select next. Happy with English for the language selection, so we'll select next. That then takes us to the download settings, so we're just going to leave all the defaults, so we will download software updates from distribution point install. Deployment options at this point here for when software updates are not available. We'll download and install software updates from distribution point in the site default boundary group. And down at the bottom here as well, based off the fact that we don't have the software updates available anywhere else, we will download the content from Microsoft Updates. Now in the case of this lab environment, don't have an internet connectivity, so we will get a failure in this case here. However, this is a demo, so what we'll do at this point here is we'll just select our next button. Just in the case of the summary, let's save this off as a template. And what we're going to do is we're going to call this, let's just call this one, well, we'll just leave Patch Tuesday. So we'll cancel that, we've already got that template in place. Then we'll select our next button. That's going to progress through, we'll select our close button. And what we've now done is created that automatic deployment rule. Now we've created it, let's click on it. And let's click run now. So as it says here, we've just initiated an action. So when new software updates are found by this rule, they'll automatically be added, and we don't need to worry about doing that as a manual task. So we'll just select OK at this point here. We'll come to our software update groups. Now it might not be there just yet in the case of the automatic deployment rule. It just takes a couple of minutes for this to run. So as you can see, it's not quite in there yet. So what we'll do is we'll just pause the demonstration and we'll just return back in a few minutes after everything's updated. So what we can now see under our software update groups, we can see our required critical updates. We can see the description, we can see when it was created, we can see what was modified, but the important bit, scroll along here, we can see that this was created by the auto update rule engine. So now we've created all of this, I suppose the next thing to do at this point here will be to actually push this out against our clients. So what we'll do at this point here is we'll just right click on the rule, we'll just go to deploy. Brings us to a wizard that we've seen before. So what we're going to do at this point here is we're just going to actually deploy this. Just going to give this a different name. Just going to call this auto update rule Windows 10. Then what we'll do is browse through, and what we're going to do is we're just going to push this out against our London clients. And we'll select our OK button. Select our next button. In the case of the deployment settings, we'll just leave all the defaults, so it will be required. We're only bothered about success and error messages. Select next. In the case of scheduling, we'll ensure we have client local time. We'll push this out as soon as possible. We'll do the same thing with the deadline and select next. In the case of our user experience, what we'll do is, with this being an auto update rule, let's just hide everything in Software Center and all notification from the users and select next. We will generate an alert though, because we do want to know when things go wrong. And then we'll select next. Leave all of the download settings. So what we're going to do at this point here is we'll look for distribution points potentially in a neighbor boundary group if this one fails, or what we'll do is if we can't find it in the current or the neighbor, we'll check the default boundary group. We don't have internet connectivity, so we won't specify getting updates from Microsoft Updates and select next. Read through the summary, select next. It'll progress through, and again it'll progress through fairly quickly. We can select close at this point here. We've now created our auto deployment rule and we've published that against the collection. That's the end of this demonstration. Thank you.